All right, this is my Savage Avengers review. This is written by Duggan, drawn by Dimitaro, and I think covers also by Dimitaro and inks by Martin. So this series is what I want from an Avengers team. Basically, it's Wolverine, Punisher, Venom, Conan the Barbarian, Doctor Voodoo. Yeah, I really I'm not a big Doctor Voodoo fan, but we'll find out what happens to Doctor Voodoo, and Elektra. So this is the Avengers team I always dreamed of, and it's just awesome that they're now having their own series. So to understand, so I didn't read this. Apparently, you needed a tie-in issue to understand what's happening in Savage Avengers, but let's just go take a review of the first issue. Also, I got the regular copy of it, and then a variant cover, regular cover and variant cover. That was $10 from Free Comic Book Day. They were doing variant covers, and I got one. It's Conan versus Wolverine. I think it's drawn by John Romita Jr., I believe. Doesn't really say, but I think it's John Romita Jr. I don't know. No, it's not him. I'll look up the name, but I just love the cover of Wolverine versus Conan, which we'll see in the first issue. It's basically them fighting. But the first issue takes place in an opera house where a very famous opera singer is singing, named Savanio, and everyone was applauding him because he did a great performance. Then Salvanio is, telling everyone thank you very much for coming. He goes into his limo and then gets kidnapped, and he's asked where he's taken, and it cuts to the Savage Land, and you see in the background there's a little city, which has now been established not before, but the first time in this series that there's a city in the Savage Land. A teleporter opens with two Egyptian women standing guard, and hand ninjas bring the Salvanio to this temple and the city with a man greeting him. And we get Savage Avenger, Chapter 1, writer Jerry Duggan, artist Mike Deodato Jr., color artist Frank Martin, like I said in the beginning. And then it cuts to Conan the Barbarian killing hand ninjas, and it's amazing. It is totally sick and awesome. He's just slicing hand ninjas left and right. He kicks them. While he stabs them, like holds double swords, and while he chokes another one in the head. Oh, chokes another one with the net by his neck, and headbutts another one. It's just a bloodbath, and it's freaking amazing. And right when Conan's about to kill another one, well, there's more. It's more of him killing. He throws a sword right before a ninja uses his crossbow to get him, and then takes a sword out. And right before he sees someone in the corner of his eye, takes out his sword, prepares to fight, and it's Wolverine. And he puts his sword in Wolverine's head, and it's awesome. And says his famous line, Chrome, the god he worships. And he says, and Wolverine says, fuck, well, ooh, shit, blank Chrome and blank you. I'm not gonna get demonetized. Yeah, he basically says, fuck Chrome and fuck you. And then Wolverine slashes Conan the Barbarian in the face, and it's amazing. And he grabs a hand sword, and him and Wolverine go at it. And they keep fighting for like 2 whole pages. It's him and Conan going back and forth, beating the absolute crap out of each other, and it's amazing. The art is amazing. This is the guy who drew Old Man Logan, one of the newest series by Old Man Logan by Ed Brunson, which is now dead. He's also writing the end series for Old Man Logan, which is Dead Man Logan, because regular Wolverine's back. And it's just right now it's just a full-on bloodbath with Wolverine and Conan just keep going at each other. It's amazing. And then Conan just stabs Wolverine through the heart with a sword, and he says, you fought well. And, Wolverine falls over. And then Conan walks away. Then Wolverine gets back up. And then he says, sorry, I ain't dead yet, bub. And then Conan and Wolverine, have this samurai moment. And then they just keep going at it. And then Conan thinks he's a devil. So he pushes Wolverine off a cliff, off a mountain. And these two, keep hitting rocks and stuff. And, Wolverine trying to hang on. But him and Conan keep falling and falling until they land in a house. And then they fall for the house. Sorry, these are, ads. Silver Surfer Dark by Donny Cates. I'm going to do a review on that. New Black Panther. Black Cat miniseries, I believe. And then we cut back to the comic. And then they just keep falling through the house to the basement. And they both look like shit. And then Conan gets back up. Wolverine coughs. Conan looks at Wolverine. Wolverine looks at Conan, exhausted. And then Conan realizes there's beer, takes a whole barrel of beer, drinks it, then pours it on Wolverine, and Wolverine drinks it. And then they say thanks, and then they stop fighting, and talk about how Conan was in the Avengers No Surrender series, and Wolverine says he had Avengers, and they just talk, and they kind of make a truce. And then Conan finds in the basement there's samurai swords, so he takes a couple. And him and Wolverine sneak out because this is a fortress of hand ninjas and Egyptian warriors. And they just sneak on a rooftop. They say what Conan's looking for, which is treasure. Wolverine says, "Good luck. I'm looking for my friend." Presumably, we find out later on. And they run off in separate ways. But they're going to come back. And then it cuts to Madripoor, where Dr. Voodoo, yeah, I know Dr. Voodoo. I read Avengers, Uncanny Avengers, and this is not the same Dr. Voodoo that we know. It's more like Dr. Voodoo who went, like an 80s version of him. He's like, hey, brother, what's up, cat? He kind of makes those lines, which is cool, I guess. That's a different version of him, or maybe that's not. I don't know much about Dr. Voodoo, but the one I read is a lot different than this version. And he's hired by a Yakuza mom to try to track down his son. He says sure, and then hand ninjas swarm him, and he takes out a little hand ninja toy. We don't know I don't know what that kind of means. Then Conan climbs up a castle. He takes out a guard. He climbs in. And he finds a temple. And, he says, what's this? And you see Voodoo and this priest. And the priest telling him what this ritual is. He kept... Oh, right. I missed a panel. Sorry about that. So about the opera guy. I don't know how I missed that. My bad. So, wow, yeah. So, the opera guy, way back in the beginning of the issue, the opera guy is asking why he's here, and then a priest comes out and says, you're here because you have to be a part of the sacrifice. He says he needs all famous people of all different, kinds of... He just basically needs, different people, like actors, musicians, scientists, and, he's making a giant blood pool of corpses and blood. And he says, you're for a greater cause. Then chops off his head and then throws his body into a giant pool. And then that's what's going to happen with Dr. Voodoo. And he says, you're crazy. This priest is crazy. And he says, this is for the greater good. It's for summoning a god. Apparently the marrow god. Like thousands of years, they did the ritual, and the marrow god showed up. The god of marrow or blood, I think. It's just a cool name. It's a freaking cool drawing. So Voodoo says he's crazy. Then the priest shows a devil hand. I don't know who this character is. I think it's a brand new character Duggan made. And then Wolverine says, Voodoo, hang on, because that's the person he was looking for. Then he slits Voodoo's throat, and I'm like, oh crap, he died. he said Wolverine says no, and then he gets thrown by ninja darts, and then he says hold, take down the mutants, just restrain them, and he says, "Do you have what we need? Why did you bring coffins?" And they said, we brought coffins so we can bring the next warrior. And the Hand knows if they bring the coffins, he will follow. And the coffins that they stole were freaking Frank Castle's wife and children's coffins. He goes to their funeral in the rain and he finds them missing. And I'm like, oh crap, this is gonna be amazing. It's gonna be the Punisher going to the Savage Land and killing a whole bunch of hand ninjas, get the caskets back, get the caskets back from the Hand, and then it teases the next issue, which is Wolverine and Conan fighting again, which already happened in this issue, but I don't know. All I know is it's freaking amazing. I am all board on this. Savage Avengers. This is the Avengers team I wish we can see in the movies. Probably not. Oh, yeah, my Endgame. So, obviously, I saw Endgame. I saw it twice. And, oh my god, my spoiler video was completely wrong. And I by the way, loved Endgame. It's my favorite movie of all time. My favorite scene, hands down. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Endgame, which you probably didn't because it's the biggest movie ever in history in the box office. Hands down, when Cap lifts Mjolnir and throws it around at Thanos, my theater, like, everyone screamed and the theater was shaking. My little cousins jumped up and down in their seats when that happened. It was amazing. The little 5-year-old of me screamed hell yes when that happened. That was my favorite scene, hands down. And I think what happened with Iron Man, spoiler alert, he dies, but that was a perfect send-off for his character. That was the perfect way to end him. I really think they shouldn't bring him back as an AI or anything, or a younger version. I think leave Iron Man dead. That's the way he died. He died as a hero, saving everyone. And that was perfect. And when old man Cap went back in time, the whole movie's about time travel, by the way. The whole movie's about the Avengers going back in time, taking the time stones from past events, using it at the current time, and then unsnapping everyone, which they do. But Thanos finds out, and then it's a huge war with all the MCU movie characters, not the Netflix characters or the characters on any of the TV shows, just all from the movies going at Thanos' army. It's amazing. It's amazing. What else? So Cap, returns all the stones, and then, he goes to a different timeline with Peggy Carter, and they get married and have the family, and then he goes back to the current time as an old man. He talks to Falcon. He says, I'm going to miss you. The world's going to miss Captain America. And then he says, oh, yeah, about that. He takes out his shield and he says, put it on. And Sam wears the shield, indicating he will be the next Captain America. And that made me cry because that was just such a great scene of Cap as an old man. And then right before, Sam says, he sees a wedding ring on Cap's finger. He says, do you want to talk about her? And then Cap says in a nice, calm voice, he says, no, I don't think I will. And then it cuts to Cap in a little suburban house with Peggy, and they're just slow dancing, and that was the perfect superhero movie / MCU movie of my life, hands down. And this is my favorite Avengers, hands down. But Endgame was amazing. If you haven't seen Endgame, go see Endgame. God, that movie is amazing.